welcome to Let's Talk Computer Science. Joining me in this week's episode is Mr. Joe Kmoch. Kmoch is a former math and computer science instructor in Milwaukee Public Schools and strong advocate for computer science. In his retirement, he continues to be involved in organizations and programs whose goal is to broaden participation of students in computer science in K-12. Among these organizations and programs is being the coordinator of the NCWIT Wisconsin affiliate of the award for Aspirations in Computing. He is also treasurer of the CSTA Wisconsin Dairyland chapter and editor of a monthly newsletter on educational computer science for this group. He has also been active in the 3 NSF grants that Marquette University has received to vastly increase the number of teachers who feel confident introducing and teaching computer science in their schools at all grade levels. Mr. Kmoch, we are so excited to have you on our show, Let's Talk Computer Science.
Thank you for having me.
That's so impressive. I mean, like you have changed so many lives as a teacher, and even after retirement, you still continue to do it, and even in a much more bigger way. Now you're addressing the entire nation and the entire state specifically.
I hope so.
Okay. Yep. Thank you so much for all your service to all our kids.
You're welcome. Very welcome.
So tell us more about your work. How did you get to where you are today?
So as you indicated in my bio, I'm a real strong advocate for computer science, and in particular with computer science in K-12 to give all students an opportunity to experience computer science. So as it turns out, the root of this whole belief stems from really when I started teaching. My first year of teaching actually both of the schools that I've taught in have been majority schools in Milwaukee Public Schools. So the first year I taught, I was given the opportunity to be able to take and teach a computer science course starting in my second year. And it turns out that I really loved it because I was able to pose problems with the kids, work with the kids, try to solve those problems and be able to bring the computer in, computer programming into the mix. Shortly, or right about the same time, I was working on my master's program, and I ended up writing a paper which detailed how to infuse computer science into the algebra classes that I was teaching and the general math classes that I was also teaching. And a few years after that, I was also given the opportunity to be able to be involved with the planning of a computer data processing career program, which was going to be housed at another high school. And the whole purpose of that program was to increase the number of, increase the opportunities for underrepresented groups, females, students of color, and students with disabilities. So my background is such that I've always been involved with underrepresented minorities, involved with information technology, and really from the get-go, I was an advocate for computer science all the way through. Basically, since I retired, as you indicated, I've been continuing those efforts, partly because I'm interested in education and kids and in general, but also because I was able to build up over the many years a large network of people around the country who, much like me, were very often the only person in that school teaching computer science. And so we would get together either on, well, then it was on the phone because we didn't have email then and that sort of thing, or at meetings and, exchange ideas and that sort of thing. And I wanted to continue those networking arrangements, so to speak. So I've been lucky enough and healthy enough to be able to continue that since I retired in 2004. So what was it, 17 years now or something like that. So.
Wow. That's super impressive. I'm just curious, can you talk a little bit more about how you have incorporated computer science in your algebra classes?
Well, I must say that although I'm a math teacher, most of what I taught in high schools were computer science courses because computer science was just beginning. I was the only person. I was interested. I got kids interested. I got schools or my school interested in that sort of thing. And then I transferred over to another school and that sort of thing. So I didn't have a whole lot of opportunities to be able to engage computer programming within the algebra course. But what I did at the time when I was experimenting with some of these ideas in the algebra classes that I had is a lot of it had to do with just the notion of a variable and how a variable is used, which is, of course, a little different in computer science, but at least giving the kids an opportunity to see that the stuff that they were learning had some relevance somewhere else. And and with computer science, computers being just brand new, I'm talking like the early 1970s. So it was really new kinds of things, futuristic kind of stuff like that. So I was able to, in different lessons, be able to bring out the computer programming tasks and be able to get kids to write a few steps that solve certain kinds of mathematical problems so that they could see context for the content, if you will. And so that's how I was able to do that sort of thing in both general math and algebra.
Yep, that's awesome. That's really good. So can you please talk about the different trends in computer science education? Has there been any major changes?
Yeah, let me talk a little bit about the historical underpinnings of what's going on right now. There were really about 8 events, situations, organizations that were founded starting in 2004 with the Computer Science Teaching Association. In 2005, the NCWIT, the National Center for Women in Information Technology, whose mission was to vastly increase the representation of women in IT positions in meaningful and creative ways. So, that was from starting in 2005. Jeanette Wing's short paper on computational thinking had a vast influence, has had and continues to have vast influence. There was an NSF grant that CSTA and a group called ISTE, International Society for Technology and Education, where we basically took the definition that Jeanette Wing had and made it so that it was reasonable for K-12. And then we also developed, I think it was 9 multidisciplinary modules, or I should say projects that really infused computational thinking. There was the Exploring Computer Science, which is still making its mark, curriculum, which was in addition to being able to broaden experiences for kids, it also focused on 3 pillars, not just content, but also equity and inquiry. So the equity meaning, being able to broaden this opportunity for kids in part, and then also the inquiry part, talking about changing the way we teach computer science. because if we keep computer science, teaching computer science in a didactic way, like that I was taught in college, you're not gonna see any changes. So they talked about, have whole lessons. Well, the whole curriculum is based on the inquiry approach. And then in 2013, code.org was established. And of course, we all know the effect that they had. And in 2016, APCS Principles, which was a college level, kind of a college level course of the based on the exploring computer science in some ways. And then also in 2016, the CS for All organization. So those, I don't know, there are 8 things there, I guess. We're not only historical, but also are all having continued effect and influence on what we're doing in computer science, and will, I'm sure, continue to have a strong effect. So that's kind of the, where things have gone, things have been and continue to be influenced.
Yeah, I mean, this is the most organized answer I have ever heard. And like, I mean, for all the folks like us who live in this space, we know things, but I never heard this organized. Thank you for that answer. Helps.
I guess it comes with age. I've been around a long time, and unfortunately, I still have my head together and are able to enunciate these kind of things.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. Like, yeah, if a historian writes a history on this topic, I think this is exactly he needs to do.
Yes, I agree.
So, what do you think? How can schools increase CS education? How can school districts? I mean, can you talk about how look to develop school, district, and statewide plans?
So it's kind of a two-edged sword, if you will, or two-part answer. One part has to do with developing pathways for computer science courses, which is the piece of the action where we're exposing kids to the point where we get more of them to get involved with further computer science education and become part of the actual industry. To me, the larger part is the notion of infusing computer science within all subject areas. It's easy. It's a little easier to maybe talk about it in terms of K6 or K8, because most of those teachers, if it's still accurate, and I believe it is, most of those teachers are teaching multiple subject areas, and the opportunities to be able to have multidisciplinary projects and engage computer science, computer programming, and that sort of thing might be a little easier, although it's turning out it's as difficult as at the high school level. At the high school level, too often we focus only on the siloed courses, and they're important. We need more students, we need more employees in IT, but we also need a whole lot of people who are specialists in various science disciplines or various artistic disciplines or whatever, to be knowledgeable about computer science, so that we need to do a better job of infusing, and schools need to think about infusing computer science within various disciplines. A relatively new area in computer science is data science, and data science is probably best explored at the high school level in social studies courses, and I hope that kind of thing happens, but it's so new that people just don't know how or where it fits in, kind of thing. But I think that's kind of a two-part thing that schools and school districts have to deal with. The other part is just getting teachers trained. first of all, trained to be able to teach these siloed computer courses where you almost need a minor in computer science to be able to deal with those things, but also to be able to just be able to provide professional development in computational thinking and relatively well, what I would consider to be relatively simpler computer science topics, which can be infused and used all over the place. And we have to be able to provide lots and lots of professional development. That's a little bit of what the Marquette University NSF grants have been about, although mostly they've been about teaching, getting teachers to the point where they can teach these siloed courses like the APCSA Java course and principles and things like that. So does that kind of answer your question?
Yes, definitely. It does.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. So what kind of resources are out there to teach computer science?
Oh, there's getting to be lots of stuff. Although I think a lot of it is focused on 6 through 12. For example, code.org, actually they do have some K-5 materials, the foundations, but the code.org has been really good about developing various courses and will be working towards this infusion area notion as they move into the future. There's also things like boot up. There's your company, Rex Academy, offers courses that are available for students to be able to take, and I presume those would be valuable also for teachers. There's things like the CMU Academy, Khan Academy, and other commercial offerings. As far as PD goes, there's also that's professional development. There's also there's code.org, there's Marquette University Pump CS PD in the summer. There's also the College Board approved professional development for APCS principles and APCS A. There are several week-long institutes, some of which I hope all of which I managed to get into my into that newsletter that you mentioned that I author and edit whatever monthly. I think that maybe it's I've glossed over an awful lot of stuff there, but I think there's at least some notion of what's available.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely summarize very well. Like you touched on code.org, the main beast here, and like universities like Marquette and businesses like Rex Academy, and nonprofits like Boot Up. So I think you touched on all the players. Maybe not listed all the people. Yeah. So what do you think is an ideal solution or like resources that are needed to help improve or increase computer science education?
I think there needs to be increased and structured communication about the availability of these resources and how to place them in a district. There's a group called STEM Forward that is housing a page, if you will, of resources that are available for K-12 schools and school districts, and are attempting to put some organization, some structure to it. And as that is being developed, I'm sure that will become even more valuable. Another piece of the action is CS for All developed something called Script, and the letters mean something. I can't remember what it is, but what it basically is intended to be used by schools and school districts and even states to develop plans and pathways for students to get these opportunities to learn computer science in computer science plus X, like computer science plus arts, computer science plus science, and whatever else like that. But basically the script is a planning tool, and I know we've been able to use it pretty effectively the last year or so in several school districts in this Milwaukee area, including Milwaukee Public Schools, in order to focus a little bit about a little bit of the planning and efforts to include computer science opportunities for all students. And in part, that's not only offering those courses at the high school level or at the middle school level at CS Discoveries, which is a code.org product, but also the infusion of computer science within other areas, like the use of Project Guts at middle school science levels, a curriculum like Bootstrap for algebra and also for physics and that sort of thing. So I think there's basically this communication and structuring and planning is necessary. And like I said, the STEM Forward resource has just really fairly recently been available. Another resource that's going to be rolled out, and I have no idea what it's going to look like, but the Department of Public Instruction, as part of this rollout of the Wisconsin Computer Science State Plan, which will happen in a couple of weeks, is going to also introduce a page that's going to have, or website or whatever, that's going to have resources in some organized way. At least that's what my understanding of it. So that's something to look out for.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. Thank you. So is like DPI, I know it's pretty Wisconsin specific. Is STEM Forward also is Wisconsin specific or national?
No, STEM Forward is actually more the Milwaukee area itself, the Milwaukee 7-county area. But they're the stuff that is being developed and being housed at their site, I'm sure would be usable for virtually anybody else around the country. If again, depending on the quality and how up to date it is and that sort of thing. And that's I don't know. That's up in the air, so to speak, because this is all so new.
Okay. This is really good. I'm making some notes on this.
Yeah.
When schools ask us for a resource, right, we could give it to them. So, any final words?
We've come a long way in particularly the last 4 or 5 years, as I've seen it. It used to be, I used to go to conferences and be the only speaker about computer science. This goes back maybe 10 years. And within the last 5 or 6 years, particularly since code.org, but also even going back to like 2010, thereabouts, with the computational thinking, there's been much more interest in adopting computer science. However, we're still in Wisconsin, we're still at, depending on which statistics you look at, we're either 40%, 44% of the high schools teaching computer science, or maybe 50%, but we've got a long way to go. So, we've come a long way from 7, 8 years ago, it was like 15%. So we've come a long way. We've got a long way to go. And so we need to keep working on this and developing plans and implementing these plans and being cognizant of new materials and new thinking that's out there.
Yeah, I think like code.org, the statistic they have is across the nation, it's about 47% high schools offer computer science. So I'm glad to hear that the state of Wisconsin is pretty consistent, like depending on the statistic, as you said, if it's 44, we are 3% below, and if it's 50, we are above average. So
yeah. It's not like we're way behind, and similarly, we're not way ahead, but we're okay. We're moving along, and we're working with groups like code.org and ACM and CSTA and to improve those numbers, basically it's to improve the opportunities to kids, and particularly to underrepresented minorities, such as women, students of color, and students with disabilities.
Mhm. Yes. Oh, okay. I'm making some more notes on this. Thank you so much,
Yeah, you're welcome.
Mr. Kmoch, for your time and sharing very insightful information with me and with our audience. I'm sure they will also find this very interesting. Thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for everything that you're doing for our community.
You're all welcome, everybody.